Hello everyone. While I normally post videos about fly tying for Project Healing Waters, I am actually in the process of building a 2-weight fly rod, and I thought I would bring you along for the build process. Now, instead of buying all the specific components, I'm planning on making my own grip, turning my own seat reel, or reel seat I should say, and I wanted to explain the process of making these different components, and it's really not that difficult. The video today we're actually going to be discussing, and I'm going to be walking you through coming up with your own grip and turning or shaping the grip to fit your needs or suit your purpose. The added benefits of making your own grips is the cork rings used, like this for example, is a black and white burl pattern. Come in a variety of different colors, burl patterns. You can get rubberized cork rings. You can get burnt cork rings. And from a cost standpoint, for example, this bag of pretty standard cork rings, 36 in a bag, I paid $25 for. So that means each of these cork rings costs about 64 cents, 65 cents. The burled pattern cork rings, I get them for about 80 cents a piece. And all that's dependent on what material they're made out of, colors, size, etc. And other than a method of turning the mandrel, you're going to need a metal mandrel. This one's a 1/4 inch in diameter. And word of advice is wax it, because when you glue the rings together, if this is not waxed, it's going to be nearly impossible to get the grip off of the mandrel. For glue, I actually use Titebond 3, which is waterproof wood glue. It works very well. From personal experience, the bond of this glue is stronger than the cork itself, and I've had no issues. But you can also use a 2-part epoxy, for example, like this Pro Paste, if you choose to. Titebond 3 is just cost effective. You can get a bunch of it dirt cheap. You don't need a whole bunch of it, and it does the job. So what I'm going to do next is change the camera angle to show you more of the process of assembling the grip onto the mandrel, applying the glue, and then clamping it to allow the glue to set. So just bear with me. Okay, so this is a standard half-wells grip that comes with most rod building kits. Nothing fancy. If you look at it, it's not really good quality cork either. There's a lot of voids that have been filled in. So basically, I have all the cork rings I'm going to need to build a custom grip laid out in front of me. And I have about $10 in all this cork. So for $10 in materials, basically, plus or minus $1 or $2 for sandpaper and glue, we're going to make a grip that looks a whole lot better than this basic grip that comes with most rod building kits. The grip I make will be about the same length, about 7 inches in length, and I'm also going to be making a half-wells style of grip. At each end of my custom grips, I have these rubberized cork rings because they just add a lot of durability to the ends of the grip. I have pre-waxed the mandrel, so after the glue dries I'll be able to remove the grip blank. I have a little cup of Titebond 3 waterproof wood glue and a brush, and all it is applying glue to the cork ring. You don't need a lot, but you need to make sure everything is nice and covered. And then slide your next cork ring down and then give it a twist to make sure the glue spreads evenly between the cork rings. And you're going to continue this process with every one of the cork rings until you have them all glued and stacked together on the 1/4 inch mandrel. It helps if you lay the pieces out in the order that you're going to be stacking them, so you don't get your pattern messed up or confused. And all I'm doing is twisting the rings every time I place a new one on the mandrel to ensure even spreading of the glue. Alright, so with that one, I have all the cork rings glued up together on the mandrel. Trying to get this in focus. And now it's just a matter of applying pressure or clamping them while they dry. And all I have here is a pretty standard clamp where I've drilled holes all the way through the front here and part of the way through the back that this 1/4 inch mandrel slides into. And within this clamp, you apply enough pressure that you start seeing the glue starting to seep out of the joints. You don't want it to apply over pressure and make all the glue squeeze out, but just enough even pressure to get good contact between the cork rings. And I'll let this set overnight or for about 24 hours before I move on to the next step. After the grip blank, as I would call it, dries overnight and all the glue is cured, I move it over to the wood lathe. Now, do you have to have a wood lathe to turn your own grips? And no. If you can set up a device with a drill or other means to spin the grip on a central axis and hold it firm enough in place to use sandpaper to shape the grip, will work just fine. I just happen to have a wood lathe and utilize it for this task. Now, real quickly touch on the safety precautions of using a wood lathe or a spinning tool like a wood lathe. No loose clothing, nothing, no jewelry or anything dangling down. Be mindful of the moving parts. And keep in mind that things can come flying off, so make sure you have glasses on that are shatter resistant lenses. And you're also going to be producing dust while you shape your grip, so wear a face mask. Once I have the mandrel chucked up into the wood lathe, I will begin shaping the grip to my desired shape and dimensions. In this case, we're going to be working on the half Wells grip. I'll set you up so you get a closer look at the setup and then the shaping process. Now keep in mind, I have already rough shaped this blank to general dimensions, but I'll touch on that better. Okay, so now that you have a better view of the turning blank in the actual lathe, I'll walk you through and explain my step process on working the blank down to a finished grip. And first thing I'm going to do, we'll take coarse sandpaper, 80 grit works really well, and just clean the blank up, any excess glue, make sure all the rings are uniform in dimension or circumference to each other, and just generally clean it up. Then I will take my template grip and mark the blank where the fattest portion of the grip is, as well as the center of the narrow section back here towards the heel of the grip. After I mark that onto my blank, I'll start by shaping the front nose section. Since this is rubberized cork, it is somewhat more difficult to shape than the rest of it. You can still do it with 80 grit sandpaper, but sometimes I'll come up here and I'll touch a rasp to it occasionally. Like I said though, 80 grit sandpaper works just fine. It's just slower shaping the very ends of this grip due to the material. Now that I have it rough shaped to dimensions, it feels comfortable in the hand, I'll start working up 120 grit and 150 grit sandpaper to help to finish smoothing out the surface. Now when compared to my template here, I have a little bit extra material here in the center of the palm swell, and other than that I'm relatively happy with the shape and dimensions. So with the 120 grit sandpaper, I'm going to remove just a little bit more material through here and then start smoothing out the surface along the entirety. Again, be mindful of the moving tools, no loose clothing, and a face mask with eyeglasses. You want to keep the sandpaper moving because it will heat up.
And I'm just going to continue to work the sandpaper to shape the grip that I want until I'm happy with the shape and finished product.
Every so often stop it and check your progress. I've removed some of the bulk here in the center, and I'm really liking the size and shape of this grip. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the 150 grit sandpaper for the final sanding and smoothing of the grip. Just going over and checking my work. Now I'm going to go back with a flat file, or you can use a piece of sandpaper glued to a flat board, and just very lightly touch the nose of the grip, just square and true up that end, and very lightly the same thing on the back to true and square up the heel end of the grip. And that is generally all there is to turning your own grip. I'm going to remove it from the mandrel now and get a better view of it. I'll be right back. Okay, now that I have the grip off of the lathe, you can see the custom grip that I just turned compared to the standard grip that comes in most rod building kits. There's a pretty stark difference, and like I said, for $11 and a custom grip, it just takes a little bit of extra work on my part to turn it. And before I end this video, I want to go over one other aspect of grip making that you're going to have to consider, and that's going to depend on which reel seat you're planning on using with your grip. This reel seat here is a very basic aluminum reel seat, up locking, and if you notice, the hood here does not have a lip on it. This reel seat is designed to butt up against the back of your grip, like so. And then very similar is this down locking reel seat that has this little flange that again is designed to butt up against the back of the grip. In those two scenarios, a flat heel on the grip is perfect. However, when you get into reel seats like this one, and you see this is also a up locking reel seat, but the hood has a flange around it. This reel seat is designed to be recessed into the back of your grip. So when this is installed, the only thing that you will see is the flange and the back portion of the reel seat. This section right here will be recessed into the back of the grip. To recess a grip, you're going to need reamer tools similar to this one. This one's got a 1/4 inch pilot and cuts a diameter of 0.78, which would be the correct reamer for this size seat reel or reel seat. If you work with several different brands of reel seats, you might have several that are designed to be recessed into the back of the grip, and they all have different size outside diameters. In that case, you may have several different sized reamers to ensure you have a proper tight fit between the reel seat and the back of the grip. I want to thank you for joining me today and going over on how to go about making your own grips. I appreciate you watching the video. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe. And I'll just be honest with you, I am an expert at nothing. I try my best, and every so often I pick up a thing or two that might just help someone else. I appreciate your time. You all have a safe day and enjoy yourselves. Until next time.